Welcome to Season 2 of Media Rebel Unplugged. I'm your host, Janice Becker, and we are starting off this season in such a great way. A very inspirational story with a grandfather and granddaughter duo, Sonny Sneed and Takesha Mingo. Sonny is an inventor and entrepreneur in his own right, and we're going to learn so much about his journey and his invention today. And Takesha, his granddaughter, is also an entrepreneur. Takesha, would you start us off and just tell us about yourself and what it is that you do and what your business is all about?
I am an entrepreneur. I have a clothing boutique. We were in the Cleveland area at Beechwood Mall for about 3 years. We are now renovating a space. We're going to be in Merriman Valley, so very excited about that. I sell women's clothing. We're going to branch off into men's and cosmetics as well. So
That's awesome. What's the name of your company?
it's called the Upper Echelon Boutique.
Love that. Yep. I imagine having a grandfather like Sonny must have played a part in your journey.
Absolutely. For as long as I can remember, ever since I was a little girl, my grandfather has always instilled in me that education is the only way to go. He's always dressed very well, so he definitely played a part in fashion. I've never seen him dressed down ever until today, ever. And it's just his work ethic, his resilience, everything about him has influenced not only me but my entire family.
The audience at Sonny, for those who are watching, can only see that he's dressed down just because he had surgery, and he was still nice enough to grace us with his presence here today. So thank you for that. How long have you been an entrepreneur yourself?
I've been an entrepreneur now for about the last 4 years. Before I began my journey there, I was in sales. I sold life and health insurance. I was licensed in about maybe 4 states. I sold maybe 1,600 policies a year. So I worked very hard doing that, and it enabled me to go ahead and be able to start my business, which has always been a lifelong dream of mine.
I feel like it's something that's really ingrained in our DNA too, especially when you come from somebody who has inspired you to be an entrepreneur, and you've seen, I'm sure, his ups and downs along the way. Sonny, how long have you been an entrepreneur now?
Well, I got my first patent in 19, and I began my journey at that time, 1988. But I didn't know what the word meant entrepreneur at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
But as I went along, that I found out what it meant. Is to maybe be someone that start a business and also inspire others. To also to go in that way of being an entrepreneur. But I tell you, my journey has been a long journey. All right, up and down. And especially what I invented as being the first black man in the history of the world, not only this country, to produce punches and dies, But I revolutionized the punches and dies, got a patent on it, and I've been to some pretty big companies, companies like Ford Motor Company, General Motors, Chrysler, Lockheed Martin, and a few other companies. So my journey has been I started my journey in 1988, but I had ups and downs. But eventually, that I met a gentleman by the name of Mr. Mike Shaw as I went on. That's about 20 years ago. He was a very big inspired gentleman that helped me to move forward, among a few others. But if I would go and try to call all the names that I met, and have helped me on my journey, we'll be here forever. But that's how lies so far for me.
Yeah. I think that's so important for all other business owners and entrepreneurs to hear, is none of us have gotten here on our own. And, it's one of the reasons that we created the podcast, was so that others, especially women, would feel supported and empowered and inspired, and to know that they're not alone in their journey, and that it's so important to find a mentor, especially early on. You said you invented a punch, correct? And you're the only black man to invent the punch and die.
Yeah. Well, I'm the only black that revolutionized it. Punches and dies have been in existence for, I don't know, maybe 100 years or so better. Because what it does, it put holes into metals, all right? But I'm saying, this here in essence, that I am the only black man that revolutionized it and invent a product like that. And the only black man in the history of the United States, probably the world. Of course, we know we did a lot of research to be able to be in that business. So it's a pretty huge business, that we have never so far saw anybody that produced punches and dies that people of color are black. So that's how I go, It's controlled industry out there, okay? Holes is needed in product. Without holes in the product, then, the whole industry will stop. you take punches and dies out of the automobile companies, they will come to a stop, because,
Right.
you need holes.
It's a very important thing that the average person doesn't think about. And here you are. How did that invention come to be? How did this pop into your mind? We need a better way of doing this, and I can figure it out.
Well, what happened is that I was a machine operator at a company. Well, it was Lamp Assistant when I first started there, and then I began to move up the rank, and I became to operate machines, that produce nuts. All right, and nuts is, they got to have holes in them to put them, put the product together. And so as I went up the ladder, I was running these big machines, big as the room, to tell you the truth. There's one product, that always gave us a problem. That was the last piece of the metal, that has to have a hole in it. But they wore out real fast, okay, because with metal going metal onto metal, all right, like a brake on a car, when you hear squeaking, on a car brake, you better change it because it's going to wear out because it's metal on metal. And so we was having a problem with that. So I just come up with a way to design one, that was better than what they're using in the world today. And mine, it was a double, I call it a double head, but the industry out there call it a double tip. So I designed one, that worked a little different and lasted, maybe about 75 to 100% better than what they're using today. And so I came up with it because I was tired of running up down those steps, changing this tool all the time. And so as I just figured the way out, and finally, the company tested, but I had a problem with the company because they wanted what they see up that they tested and found out how well it worked. But I thought, that there's got to be a better way to save, this product, So I just came with the idea to make it just a little bit different than what is used now in the world.
I think that's how every invention has come to be. Because it took one person to say there's a better way to do this, and I'm going to figure it out myself. And then you ran with it though, and that takes so much courage in itself to go, all right, I'm going to figure this out. I may not know how to patent it, but I'm going to start doing this, and I'm going to, no matter what anybody else says, I know this is the best product out there, and keep going. And I'm sure that also inspired you, Takesha, to see that willpower that he has had to never give up.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said, I'm 41. Ever since he's been, he lives and breathes this, and he's been so resilient. He's never given up. Most people, even probably myself, would have probably scrapped the idea and just said, okay, it's not going to go anywhere. But he is as resilient and as serious about his invention as he was when he first did it, and very patient, and he believes in it. I've never known anybody believe in something so much. So it really teaches me just to never give up,
Yeah, resiliency is so important. And I'm sure that has evolved over your lifetime of overcoming adversity. So where do you feel like where did you really initially get that resilience from?
Well, I tell you the truth, from the cotton field of Georgia.
Okay.
I recall, that the first time, that I was 6 years old when I began picking cotton, and little town called Montezuma, Georgia, where I was born and raised at. I recall, that my mother, that what she was taking what we call a crocus sack, and I was watching her as she was preparing this crocus sack for me to go to the cotton field to pick cotton. My thing was to make money, all right? To make money, although, at 6 years old, I might have worked all day and made about 20 cents or something like that because I couldn't pick very much cotton. But the resilience came because I saw the older ones out there and picking all this cotton, they was making money, not a whole lot of money, but, 200 and 300 pounds of cotton. And I was very young, and I said, I know I can do this one day or someday, it just was a thing, that I just had that resilience that I could do this here. I could get up there and make me $2 or $3 a day or something like that. And
well, at 6 years old, you were like, I can go make some
that's
money.
When I started,
Hard worker.
But I had to go on and on with it.
Yeah.
So I just kept picking cotton until I got older and older and went on up the line until I became a great cotton picker, and I made money. So I think, that a lot of the kids today, have to look at, a lot of kids today, I would say that doesn't know what the word resilient means. It's to go forward, and stay forward, all right? Don't give up, all right? Although, that it might seem to be hard, but a lot of things are hard in this world for everyone, not just the people of color, but everyone, right? It's hard for us. It's not easy for no one, but you must believe in yourself and carry on with what you think you can carry on. It's going to be up and down now. You ain't going to be able to just go out there and say, okay, I can go and I'm going to make it. But, it's going to be ups and downs. And I don't think anyone should feel sorry for themselves because they cut off their skin. I say that's the way the world are, and that's the way the world going to be. And you must go forward. I believe in forward and work backwards, and don't look back. So a lot of things, that I have went through, but I met a lot of people, white and black, has been very, very inspiration to me, okay, to help me go on, all right? At some point, that we be named, that I could call as far as from black and white, has really inspired me to keep going. And so that is about it for me when it's come down to saying being resilient and things, right?
I think it's very inspiring because it is very easy to quit. And I think in the moment when we're like, all right, it's time to quit is normally when we have to push the hardest.
Yeah. We have to push the hardest on everything we do. Regardless, that
it's normally we're on the precipice of something amazing happening when you're just there. The dream you're about to give up on is about to happen. And I think we see that in about every good movie that there is.
Absolutely.
And speaking of movies, I hear there's a documentary that we're trying to have put together about your life.
Yeah, they're working on one. The gentleman in Akron Hall, by the name is Mark Greer. They're working on it. So that I think it would be a great story to be told. Not because it's me. Not because of me. So I think, in the black race, that education is a very big part of the black race in the United States and what's going on in the country right now. When it comes down, a lot of the black kids right now that I've grown from then the time that I invented this tool to see them that what's going on in our communities. And I would say to anyone that would listen to this podcast, and especially to the black community, education is key to the black race. And we're working on a documentary that will show as far as saying trade schools, as far as saying, as get an education. Don't be looking back because the color of your skin is black. That's not gonna, you can't feel sorry about that, all right? That's the way you were born, but you have a brain. Think, do a lot of thinking, before you make a mistake. Of course, we make a lot of mistakes, and a lot of the young ones out there that is in the black community make mistakes, but they can overcome those. Or they can overcome those mistakes by listening to someone that has got older and have been through the rings, all right? But as I see today, like I said, education is the key. Education is the key to the black race, and I will stick with that. I will stick with what I always saying, forward ever back.
Education is key for everybody, and trade schools are such a big part of that. My kids themselves are going to trade school. I have one in HVAC right now. It's graduating. I have one that wants to go in carpentry. Another one wants to go in electrical. And we, as a country, have put so much into getting your associates and your bachelor's degree. And not saying that you should not, but you can start at trade school and then go on to evolve your education further, which is what I'm trying to tell my senior right now. You might be graduating in HVAC right now, and it might be tempting to go into the union right out of high school, but you need to further your education, even though he is one that has never felt education was for him because he's not somebody who does well in a textbook. He does great with hands-on. He's like a mechanical genius, but if you give that boy a textbook, he couldn't tell you what he just read.
That's my 24-year-old. Very smart if he's interested. Whatever he's interested in, he'll excel at. And he's hands-on too.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's what's great about trade schools and younger kids, especially when even video games, right? They're all hands-on in the video games, and it's almost like the same thing. You can do that in trade school. It's like a live video game when you're in there and you're putting things together and you're using your brain on how you work it.
Right. Well, you got a lot of the kids today, black and white, that looking at going to trade schools today. Trade schools are becoming a big deal today, all right?
Yeah.
I think, that they look to say, that because of education into the college, they cost so much to go to them, all right? But you can get a trade. You can go to school and get a trade, all right? And it doesn't mean that you don't have to stop your education from going any further.
Yes.
You can take up a trade and pursue, and being young as you go, and then you can further the education as you go if you want to move up to a higher position. But we are also talking about that as we do this documentary about trade schools, and what we're planning on doing is for us and a scholarship that we will generate from the sales of the product, the sale of the documentary, the sale of anything that we do to generate money is to put back into communities, whether they white or black, doesn't make any difference. To say, okay, you want to go to trade school, you go to trade school. You want to go to college, we will help you go to college. We'll start you out, okay? And that's what our plans are as we move, the product forward. We must look at one thing, like I said, and I will stick with it. I will say it again. Education is key. And as you said, it's key to matter what's coming. Education is key. Get an education and you can go far. You can go far in this land.
Yes. I think my son ended up realizing this. It's in high school. Trade school is free for him right now. I mean, yes, you have your minor fees and your uniforms. And he goes, Mom, they do have adult trade school. I didn't realize how much it was. I'm so glad that I'm going in high school so that I don't have that expense.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important that even our high schools educate them on trade schools, because you have to prepare for that. Your grades have to be really good. You need to get in some programs sooner than others because they fill up really fast. I think right now the one for ours locally was mechanical and carpentry and electrical. They fill up and you have like a whole 1-year waiting list to get in. And then from there, you have to try to find another one closest to you. But I think that your position with your product sales going to helping others to go to trade school is very inspiring. How did you come up with that? No, the idea of the sales would go to help others go to trade school and further their education.
Well, the gentleman, like I said, that I met him 20 years ago, and Mr. Mike Cromshaw, he's been a part of the education of University of Akron down there. When I met him, he began to work with me as I moved through my journey. And as we talked and looked at things, that he's an educator, and also Miss Joyce Anderson, who you just met, she's the educator. And so they kind of talked to me concerned about trade schools, and that's how we got to talk about, trade schools and just good for the education of the one that really don't think they're not college material. We got a lot of kids out here think they are not college material. They don't want to go to college. They want to be hands-on what they can do. All right. And so we talked about that, and that's how we come up with, an idea of saying trade school would be a good thing, for a lot of the kids out here, trade school. Trade school is going to be one of the big keys that is going to be existing here in the United States for the big three. We want to start off with the big three, saying, that you buy our products, to produce better product. And as the sales go through, you help the community, all right? Because we'll take part of that and put back in the community with trade schools and education and scholarships. So we can start off with them right now, but there'll be a lot of them that we will start off there. Not only them, but Uncle Sam Armory, ships and all that, that if you don't want to use our product, you still want to do business, that with the companies that you're doing business with, for a bunch of the guys, we just want to do a fair share. The market is so big, that we'll be able to fund trade schools, not only here in our backyard here in Akron, but all over the United States.
That's a great model to have. Not only will they be getting a better product, but they're going to be helping the communities as well for their education.
With back in the community, what you'll be doing, right? It's not about the Sonny Sneed project, that whereas, that Mr. Mike Cromshaw and I put together. It's not so much about that, It's about what we want to do as the community, what's the young youth. Okay?
So your invention, it's dual tip punch is what you're calling it.
Yeah, they call it a dual tip, but when I first invented it, I called it a double head.
Okay.
But the industries out there, they call it dual tip, okay? So we have a company called MOM2. This is what, when they were dealing with General Motors and Chrysler and all those companies out there, they use the word dual tip. The way it's designed, when the front head wears out like a single head, the second head comes in and takes over, but it doesn't have nearly the work to do like the front head start off doing. So it's keeping in tolerance. You'd be surprised when you get a blueprint, they want these holes to be precise. You just can't put a hole into a piece of metal and say, okay, put it together. It doesn't work.
See, this is my complaint with all of my Amazon purchases.
Right.
When the holes aren't drilled right and I can't put it together.
It matters.
I understand a little bit the frustration.
Yeah. And also, like I said, when it comes down to all this electronic stuff, especially automobiles and the self-driving cars and all this coming into the future, and planes and things, I can see, they vibrate, and they've got birds in there, it's going to cut the wires, right? Eventually it's going to cause a problem. So, all this here, that, my invention, would help out with that. We're not saying 100%. But we can say 90%.
But yours last longer than others
it's much
from what
longer,
I've seen. What's the lifetime of yours versus what's normally in the market?
Well, the anywhere from 75 to 90% longer.
Oh, wow.
So that's a pretty long time.
Yes, it is.
We have documentaries that can show some of the biggest companies in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, we sold to some of the biggest companies in the United States, Fortune 500 companies.
It's very impressive. All right, so I need to hear more about Sonny's fashion. All right.
Yeah, he's always very sharp, very clean, slacks, a nice collar shirt, very nice shoes, very well kept all the time. So my mom, who's his daughter, obviously she's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
She's just always very well put together. So ever since I was a little girl, when he'd come by, he'd always say, "Girl, what do you got on?" And so I know when Grandpa Sonny's coming, like everything's got to be perfect. You got to get it together. He wants to know what's going on with school. It's just everything's got to be up to par and on point with Grandpa Sonny. And I appreciate that. It's kept me on my toes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that we didn't get to see him dressed to the nines
Oh,
today.
it's okay.
I hope that, that documentary come out, that I'm getting much better at voice operation that I have.
Yeah.
Hopefully after the weather change, that I can begin to look the way that Sonny like to look. I think everyone, that I just don't like to see these kids running around with their pants hanging down on them, all right?
Yeah. Fashion's not what it used to be, sadly.
No. Because I tell them all, your pants hanging down, down to your ankles and all that, that don't look good. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to meet. It might be someone, and they may look at you. It might be someone you want to talk to. Say something, it might be someone that might be able to inspire you to move, better in life, But if you looking like something that you don't want to talk to, they're not going to talk to you.
Right, that's the first impression that people take from you is your appearance. Sadly, it really is, and how you present yourself and also what it embodies of you as a person and your personality. I think that's also very important with fashion. But
for sure.
But you're the expert on that, Takesha. So
yeah, I have a really unique style. So I'm a bit of an artist as well, which is something I picked up from him as well. I remember being a little girl, when we go see him, he'd be on the phone talking business. He'd be sketching his little sketches. And I was just always so mesmerized by it. So I developed a passion for art as well. I actually didn't go to a traditional college. I went to an art school. I went to the Art Institute of Philadelphia, took some courses there. And so my style is very unique. Sometimes I got like a mix of conservative, but I can also do fun as well. So it's a really a good mixture of things that I have at my boutique.
I always say it depends on my mood and what personality you're getting from me.
For me too. But when I'm coming with him, I know conservative.
Yes.
Conservative.
So what does your boutique specialize in? What's the trend that you're
the trend? So a lot of people seem to appreciate my selection. I have very unique pieces that you normally wouldn't find anywhere else. I love denims. I love really good denims. I love really good quality, which is why I call my boutique the upper echelon boutique. I don't just go order stuff and throw it in. I take my time. I take pride into my inventory. I like when people come into my store and they're wild and they leave happy and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy with this purchase," and they come back and they tell me I got a ton of compliments. So I would say probably the selection. My pieces are very unique.
Do you look for a particular artist or somebody that's more original? Like, you can't go into the mall and find it. It's something very special.
Mm-hmm. So I have different vendors and I just kind of choose what I like. My sister and we've always dressed very well. My sister, she got best dressed in high school. We've always been known for our style and the way we dress. So I trust my own style and my own judgment. People seem to like it. I just go for what I would like. I check the style trend too, of course, but yeah.
But that's good. It has to. Your store has to embody yourself too,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Not just who you're trying to cater to.
Yeah.
But it's a representation of yourself. Just like when you walk in here, I want you to kind of feel what the Media Rebel brand is all about. Hopefully, people do get that when they come here. It's to feel welcomed and to feel at home, and that I want to learn more about everybody that comes here and everybody's story, and share that with the world.
Yeah.
So, what really was the breaking point for you out of insurance to go? I want to go into my business. I've had enough of the insurance world.
Yes. So I would say the breaking point for me is I remember sitting, I was brought right around the pandemic. I was the top sales agent at my whole company in every office. The offices in Georgia, Florida, the top sales agent every month. I was very competitive. Sold maybe like 150 policies a month. The average person sold maybe 50. And so first of all, it was very competitive. As you can imagine, it was a lot of pressure to keep that going. You're teammates aren't so happy with you sometimes. I just start thinking to myself, wow, I just start kind of calculating the amount of not only money, obviously, but just my time and what I could do if I just kind of went independent. You know what I mean? I just remember feeling very unfulfilled, getting up, going to my desk, making tons of sales every day, you know. It just didn't really fulfill me anymore. I want to kind of do that for myself. So I saved some money. I was able, and I said, I think now is a good time for me to start my own thing. So that's what I did.
So did you go to your grandfather's advice before I jump into this?
You know, we did talk. My family were all very close knit. So I talked to my mom, my aunt, my grandfather, my whole family, and they're all like, yeah, you know, and I have their help whenever I need it, and it just felt right, so I did it.
That's great to have a whole family behind you that supports what you're doing. I can relate myself when I started my journey. I had to go and talk to the family, and
Yeah.
the family sounds very mafia-esque. I had to talk to the family.
Yeah.
All right, here I am. I'm finally doing it. But that's such a big leap. It's a big leap of courage too in yourself, and to see that your family has that support behind you. I know that had to mean a lot.
It means a lot. I have a great family. I have a really, really good family. I'm very blessed.
So if anybody wanted to shop your store, can they shop you online, or do they have to come to your store?
So they could shop us online. We're redoing our website because we're getting the new space and that. They can come to the store as well. We plan to shoot for opening for May 1st. So we're almost done with renovations.
Awesome. We'll make sure that we put your website in the description of everything for you to help drive traffic once it's up and ready.
Okay.
Because I think everybody would love to see what it is that we're talking about.
Okay, yeah, right? Absolutely.
What advice would you give to others that are looking to start their own business?
The advice that I would give is to do it. You can't really, I mean, obviously you have to be smart. You know, you have to make sure you're going to be able to sustain yourself and, you know, timing is everything, but don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. You just got to kind of feel it. You got to kind of believe in yourself, you know, set a plan, but don't get too wrapped up in the details because then you'll never start, you know, just kind of go for it. A little bit of planning, you know, obviously, but just go for it and never give up. This is not my first boutique, by the way, this will be my third. So if it doesn't work out the first time, or if you don't get the results you want the first time, just start over, you know, just got to plan strategically, start over, learn your target audience and believe in yourself. Just never give up.
I love that. So I always say there's no such thing as failure as long as you're taking away a lesson. So there's always something that you can learn from it. A lot of business owners, they fail their first time, second time, third time. But it's that resilience that you don't give up and you just keep on persevering.
Yes.
I love how you all embody that.
Thank you.
Sonny, what advice would you give to not only a business owner, but somebody that's looking to invent something or has an idea for an invention?
Well, only advice I can give to someone like that, you know, is saying that I had a lot of folks that has ideals, you know, that came to me, you know, with an ideal. But, you know, we were dealing with a company in Akron called the National Museum of Education. And we had a lot of, you know, come through there with ideals. But it's pretty hard, you know, to give someone an idea, you know, to say how to go forward with that product, you know, because they will look at you and say, well, you know, you can't tell me anything about my product because you don't know anything about my product. So I kind of just said to like what my granddaughter was saying here, you know, I mean, it's going to be failure, you know, it's going to be good and going to be bad. So, you know, what you have to do, you just have to believe in yourself and carry on with it, all right? On my journey, you know, that I had quite a few failures and I had you know, some uplift that kept me going. That boy saying, give us someone an advice, you know what I mean? The only thing I can say, just like you said, you know, you believe in yourself and move forward with it. You know, you're going to have some ups and downs, you know, but if you believe in yourself, just go forward with it. You know, as I said, forward ever, backwards never. Don't look back. That's all I can say. But I try not to, if someone come to me, I try not to put them down in any kind of way because I was put down, you know, in a way, you know, that especially, I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to say the truth, especially in the black community. When I was talking about my invention with them, you know, I mean, the first thing they say, they're going to take that. They're going to take that from you. It was some very discouraging words, you know, that came from them, you know what I mean? But I'll be frank with you. If you're going to tell the truth, tell the truth. I had no problem at my own time than I had at white, all right? Because of that, because blacks did not understand the punching bag business because none have never been in that business. But it was mainly controlled by white, you know, and so I kind of understood that a little bit. A gentleman by name of Mr. Bird Davis that worked with me at the plant. And he said the words to me. I told him, I said, I don't understand. Why are they disliking me because of this? He said, why are they saying this? He said, because they don't understand. And they did not understand. So those words just stuck with me. And still today, when someone come to me with a product that ask my advice, the only thing I just tell them is believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. And I just give them the advice. But it's pretty hard to talk to someone about their product and what they invented. Because a lot of the stuff that they probably created, I don't understand. But I just tell them to believe in yourself and go forward.
I think that's great advice. It's hard to believe in ourselves. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast about self-love and self-care. And I think there are times we can be our worst enemy. We can really talk ourselves out of a good thing if we spend enough time. And for me personally, that's when I turn to God, when I go, I'm beating myself up too much. I need somebody else that knows way more than me.
Right.
So a question that we always ask our guests on the podcast, and I'll start with Sonny and then we'll go to Takesha, is what gets you through your day?
What get me through that day? If believing in Sonny, if believing in what I'm doing, all right? That's what get me through the day. You'd be surprised, that when one is sleeping at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up thinking, all right? How do we move forward? And I guess my business partner did, Mr. Mike Show. He take the phone and he go to the voicemail. Why? Because I'm going to call him about 2 minutes after 8, you know what I mean? I'm going to give him a chance, 8 o'clock, I'm going to call him. But we got to talk here. But what get me through my journey, like I said, is believing what I'm doing. You got to believe in what you're doing. You just got to believe in it, and that's what get me through the day, and that's what have got me through the time, when I first got the patent in 1988, ups and downs, but I believed in what I was doing. I believed in Sonny, okay? And that's what get me through the day, all right? It's not going out talking to a whole lot of folks about my invention, just believing in myself. And that's what I say, believe in yourself, trust in yourself. It's going to be ups and downs, but trust in yourself and keep going forward. And that's what get me through the day.
All right. That's a great message.
That is.
All right. How about you, Takesha?
What gets me through the day is, say, my family and just having a real passion to make sure that I want to leave a legacy behind for my boys. My son has kids, for his kids, for my family, my grandfather, my aunt, my mother, who are all getting older. I feel they've given me such a great life. It will be my responsibility and a pleasure for me to be able to provide them with that as well, and to be able to get just just a good legacy going in my family, to have something for my kids, my grandkids. If my family needs me, they can fall back on me to make sure I'm strong enough financially, mentally, physically to be able to be here for my family. That's what gets me through.
I can respect both of your input. I think it's going to be very beneficial for people out there looking to start their own personal journey. If they haven't already, or if they're going through it and questioning if they should stick with that business that they've created or the invention that they have in mind that maybe they haven't executed yet, I think you both have given people a lot of insight that's going to be very inspiring to them.
Thank you.
So if they're looking to learn more about Sonny, where would they go?
Well, to look more about Sonny, we go to SonnySneedProject.com. So Google my name up, Sonny Sneed, and it begin to tell you a lot about me and start to read about me.
All right.
That would be very, very inspiration to a lot of us.
Yes.
To see that, to my journey.
We definitely plan on putting a little snippet from your documentary that they're working on. So we're going to be including that for everybody to see here and learn a little bit more about you.
Good.
And Takesha, where can they learn more about you and your company?
So, like I said, we do have a website. We're just reconstructing it. It's the upperechelonofficial.com. I have social media as well. I have Instagram, upperechelon_quiche would be the Instagram.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll update it as you update and grow.
Okay.
We will keep our audience updated on both of you and your journeys and how everybody can take part in the Sonny Sneed project and stay up to date on that documentary as it's coming about. And I wish you both the best of luck, and I really am so excited that you came here today to share your story. And Sonny, thank you for being the first man on Media Rebel Unplugged.
Well, I like that. I like that. So when history go down, they say Sonny Sneed was not only the first black man to revolutionize and invent a tool, he was the first black man to be on the show. And not only the first black man, but the first man, period.
That's right.
I like that. I like that sounds good. I think that was kind of spirit of the audience. You just might get the other men out there want to come and talk to you.
Well, I get that from time to time, but I only take the best.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's good.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening and for tuning in. You can learn more about Media Rebel by going to media-rebel.net, and you can find us on all of the social and podcast channels. We look forward to having you subscribe and like us and follow along with Sonny and Takesha as they go on their journey.
Keep watching and listening for scenes from the upcoming documentary on Sonny Sneed and his amazing journey.
At the time, they call it the dual tip punch. If you make a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door.
There are people in life that we meet whose filter they're using to see the world in is a little bit different than what ours might be.
A lot of engineers, I would say they feel embarrassed that a black man walked out of shop and did what I did. They couldn't do it.
We ran a test. It got to the point where we were like 70 times better. Our minds were just running wild. With this tool, we'll be the last man standing.
It's knowing that the product was very successful in Ford. Lockheed Martin, General Motors, Chrysler. It was better than bread, okay? But for some reason, they don't purchase it.
Sonny has been on a very long journey, a very difficult journey. As a kid growing up, picking cotton in the 40s and the 50s, Jim Crow was very much alive. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
I don't have no giving up in me. I feel that I am successful. I ain't made the $1 billion or the million or whatever you want to say, but I prove that I have the best tool in the world.